So, let me paint you a picture. In the middle of Mumbai's always busy Juhu area, there's a well-known girls' college, SNDT. It's kind of two places in one. There's the new building, full of students and life, and then there's the other one, old, crumbling, and completely abandoned. Tonight, we're going to go inside the old one.
Imagine hearing that. A message appearing out of nowhere from an unseen hand. It's a warning, but it's also a promise of what's about to happen. It's easy to say you don't believe in ghosts when the sun's out and you're surrounded by people, right? But what about when it gets dark? When everything goes quiet and you come face to face with something you just can't explain?
Well, let me introduce you to Rohan and Vishal. They were two friends who figured they could take on any local legend. They were about to learn the hard way that some stories are a lot more than just stories.
Every old building seems to have its tales. But the story about SNDT's abandoned building, well, it's different. It's the kind of story people only whisper about, especially after the sun goes down. And the local folklore is really specific. People say it's the spirit of a woman, and that her voice, just filled with this deep sadness and anger, still wanders the empty hallways. For most people, it's just a spooky campfire story. But for some, it's a very, very real reason to stay far away.
And, like with any good ghost story, it was really only a matter of time before some skeptic decided to push their luck and challenge it. For Rohan, this whole thing was just ridiculous. He didn't believe in any of it. So when his friend, who actually went to the college, told him the story, he just laughed it off. And that's all it took. She dared him. If you're so brave, go inside. Spend one night in the old building and prove to everyone there's nothing to be scared of. A challenge he just couldn't say no to.
So the plan itself was pretty straightforward. Rohan wasn't going to go it alone. He got his best friend, Vishal, to come with him. They figured they'd sneak in through the back so nobody would see them. And they set the time for 1:30 a.m., that perfect, quiet hour of the night when scary stories start to feel just a little bit more real.
And as they slipped inside, all the familiar sounds of the city just vanished. All that was left was this heavy, weird silence. The dare was officially on.
Man, the building was a mess. Bushes were growing inside, cobwebs everywhere. The old rusty doors just groaned when they opened them. And inside, the silence was so complete, they could hear their own hearts pounding. Every single step just echoed down those dark, empty halls.
But then, as they got close to this one specific classroom, the whole feeling changed. A sudden, sharp cold just settled in around them. And this wasn't a normal kind of cold. This was that deep, unnatural chill that feels like it goes right through your bones.
And then, a sound. It was faint at first, but it cut right through the silence. There was no mistaking it. It was a woman's voice, and it was coming from inside the very classroom they were standing in front of.
Rohan, still trying to be the brave one, pushed the door open. Inside, it was just what you'd expect. Empty chairs, dusty tables, a beat-up old blackboard. But they quickly realized they were not alone. The voice started up again, echoing around the empty room. It sounded like a teacher reciting a multiplication table. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And with every number, the voice got louder and angrier, more demanding. Then, just like that, the chanting stopped. And in its place was this sharp, awful sound of a slap that echoed like it had just happened right there. And immediately after, the room filled with the sound of children crying, like a whole chorus of phantom sadness and fear. Okay, this was the moment their skepticism just completely shattered. They stood there just frozen, watching as a piece of chalk lifted up into the air and started writing on the blackboard. The message was unmistakable, direct, and absolutely terrifying. I was killed here, and now I want my revenge. The dare was over. It was time to run. They just fled, scrambling out of that classroom, stumbling down the stairs, and bursting out of the building. But in all that panic, in the dark, something went really wrong. And this is where the story splits into 2 completely different and equally horrifying versions of what happened. So what was it that made them run like that? They saw the spirit of a teacher. She was wearing a dusty black sari. Her hair was a total mess, but her face, it was swollen, like the skin was rotting. Her eyes were completely white, and she was holding a stick, like she was ready to teach her next lesson.
Okay, now here is where things get really, really weird. This is where reality just breaks down. Rohan swears that he got out, but when he looked back, he saw Vishal trapped inside, banging on a window. He says he bravely went back in, all by himself, and found Vishal with the ghost. But Vishal's memory is the exact opposite. He says he was the one who escaped, and he saw Rohan screaming at the window. He says he called 2 other friends for help. They all went in together, and they found Rohan passed out on the stairs.
So what actually happened in there? I mean, 2 friends go in, but their memories of how they got out are perfect, terrifying mirror images of each other. The only thing they both agree on is the absolute terror they felt.
4. By the time the night was over, that's how many young men were absolutely certain that the legend was real. Why 4? Because Vishal's 2 friends, the guys he called for help, they heard it too. As they were carrying an unconscious Rohan out of that building, they all heard it. The phantom teacher reciting her tables, and the ghostly children crying in the dark.
And really, that's how a legend becomes permanent. The story of what happened to Rohan and Vishal locked in the building's haunted reputation for good. Even today, students at the college tell the story and stay far, far away from that old, abandoned wing, where they say a teacher is still waiting for her class to start.
It just leaves you with this chilling puzzle, doesn't it? We know that our memories can be unreliable, especially when we're terrified. But when 2 different people both remember being the hero, the one who got away to find help, you have to wonder, is one of them lying? Or did that ghost do something to them, something that completely fractured their sense of reality? What do you think really happened that night?